ready to go?
I am.
Welcome to another Sunday Superversive live stream. I am your host, Benjamin Wheeler, and I'm here with my co host, Anthony Marquetta. How are you doing today, Anthony?
I am having a wonderful day. How about you, Ben?
I am also having a okay day. Actually, it was pretty wild. Like at night, somebody tried to run a police blockade just outside my house at midnight, basically, and
That's a bad idea. I doubt it worked.
it didn't. It didn't. And then we listened to the hilarity of him trying to explain why he shouldn't be arrested, which I won't say here, but he basically claimed that because he was of a certain people, he should not be arrested for trying to run the police blockade. Oh, I miss this, Anthony. I go away for 1 week, I get peaceful sleep and all that jazz. But no, the second I'm back, ugh. Anyway, let's talk about what we're actually going to talk about. Since I'm not on vacation anymore and I actually have to do work on something. Musicals, sing throughs, operas, rock operas. What's the difference? I don't care. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for good listening music. Because I don't want to think about
To be honest, it's not very difficult. In an opera, there is no talking at all.
no talking.
No talking. So that means if there is a single spoken line of dialogue, you are disqualified from being an opera. In traditional operas, there's all sorts of standards to it, but technically, to be an opera, that is all you need. That's why Gilbert and Sullivan, have comic opera, but there is no talking, so they are operas. A sing through. I mean, sometimes a sing through can technically be called an opera if they want to, if there really is no dialogue.
Yeah.
But they're not in the style of typical dialogue of typical operas, so they just call them sing through musicals.
Right.
However, in a sing through, there could be individual lines of dialogue. So Les Miserables is a sing. There are technically one or two lines of dialogue throughout the show, so it is disqualified from being an opera.
I see.
Jesus Christ Superstar is allowed to call itself an opera.
Yeah.
So it is a rock
A rock opera?
opera because it is using rock music. If an actor goes off the reservation, decides to speak a line, which you see in certain productions, then that would technically disqualify it from being an opera. But it's written as an opera. There's no talking in it.
Mm.
And New Albion Radio Hour that you introduced to me calls itself a diesel punk opera, but that is actually inaccurate. It is disqualified from being an opera because there is talking before the first song, and there is talking before the song titled The Bash. So it is not an opera, it is a sing-through. But, opera sounds snootier.
It does. And so Hadestown, what does Hadestown count as?
Hadestown was originally written as a folk opera, but you'll notice that the Broadway show is not marketed as an opera. That is because it is no longer an opera. She added speaking in it. That makes it a musical. It is referred to as a musical. The original version of Hadestown that the concept album is kind of derived from was called a folk opera. So it's folk music, and it was entirely sung. But because they added speaking dialogue, even just a single line, and there is very little of it, but it's there, that immediately disqualifies it from being called an opera. It is no longer an opera.
I see.
So there is your terminology lesson of the day. Mostly, though, it really honestly, if something is called an opera or not depends on what effect the creator is trying to get out of you. So, for example, Jesus Christ Superstar could easily have just been called a musical, but Andrew Lloyd Webber wanted to call it a rock opera. Now, Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat is just as much of an opera as Jesus Christ Superstar, but he does not call it an opera. That's because he's not going for the same effect with both shows. Calling it a rock opera tries to lend it a little bit more gravitas, whereas Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat is lighthearted.
I get you. So it's half what the person decides to call it, half just how much seriousness it is, I guess.
In the modern day, and for real traditional opera, there's all sorts of things that you look at, that certain parts that tend to repeat in these sorts of shows, certain types of solos and things like that. But I don't know the details of it because I have never listened to a traditional opera, and I don't intend to because they all suck. What?
Now that is a spicy meatball. I have listened. Well, I haven't sat down to listen to a whole opera because I have had no opportunity.
I'm really being sarcastic. I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, Mozart's Figaro, I'm sure, is just terrible.
Oh, absolutely. That's why it's referenced
The
all the
Magic
time.
Flute.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm sure the Magic Flute's just, just not good.
Right, right. Though actually, it's like I kind
Sorry.
of wish. Oh no. I kind of wish there was more like opera and stuff like that going around. But it's also
It would be nice if they started playing operas, like giving people the option to go to an affordable opera would actually be really nice, and I would definitely try it if that were if the option were available to me. $10 tickets and you go see the opera.
yeah.
And I know that there are certain theaters that do that, but it's very rare.
I
You
mean,
see it in like experimental theaters.
yeah. If you're lucky, like you could get it from like a college or something like that. But they are all over the
Even
place.
then, that's pretty rare. Like DeSales
Yeah.
University near me is a well-known theater school. For people who know this sort of thing, it has a very, very good theater program. Partially because it's located in the Lehigh Valley, and the Lehigh Valley has the Freddie Awards, which is a big high school award show. So they take theater really seriously here. And DeSales University is an excellent theater college. Since I've been here, they haven't done an opera in any of the years I've seen them. So make of that what you will. And this is a big theater area.
Right. I get
And
you.
I'm not counting Gilbert and Sullivan here, and even then, you will occasionally hear people refer to what they write as operettas, and I'm not even going to pretend to know what that means.
They're tiny operas.
It's all terminology that's beyond me, and also it doesn't matter to me. They're comic operas. And Gilbert and Sullivan is quite funny. If you actually want to see like what happened to opera and why it was popular and why it no longer is, Tom Simon has a brilliant article on his website titled "Zombie Opera." It's one of his Smiggy McStudge articles, which is his take on the Screw Tape letters. Basically, it's as if Screw Tape was commenting on popular culture. Uh, they are the only Screw Tape letter pastiches I have ever seen that actually captures the genius of the original in any way. So, and I cannot pay them a higher compliment than that. They're
Yep.
truly, his Smiggy McStudge articles are truly brilliant, and he has one that is superb called Zombie Opera. I will quote he responds to somebody in the comments who asked him, on the subject of English language musical theater, what does Mr. McStudge think of the works of William S. Gilbert and Sir Arthur Sullivan? So the Gilbert and Sullivan operas. That's, for people who don't know, their most famous song is probably Modern Major General.
I am the very
Do you know Gilbert and...
modern Major General. Yes, I know.
Yep, that's them. So This is what Tom Simon wrote. I have brought your question to the attention of the McStudge, and he has replied. Gilbert and Sullivan are vile, unspeakably vile, incorrigibly vile. They fulfill all the essential functions of opera, but do it in an English idiom accessible to the people, whom we particularly wanted to be left in the dark. What is worse, they laugh at their betters. They are witty and satirical at the expense of the solemn goofs, entitled incompetents that were and are set over the suffering race of Englishmen. It is hard enough to, at the best of times, to get anyone to take an English aristocrat seriously. But Gilbert and Sullivan have made it flatly impossible. The only saving grace is that they are dead, dead and enshrined, and the arts councils have made them into a shibboleth. With every year that goes by, their works inch closer to the zombie condition to which we have so incessantly labored to reduce all of the arts. Meanwhile, a pox on them and on all who actually understand them and enjoy them. Somebody asks him later on about Wodehouse, about P.G. Wodehouse, and he says, "Oh, don't get the McStudge started on Wodehouse." He begins with "Thief Wodehouse, we hates it forever," and goes downhill from there.
That's fantastic.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
The article is superb, and I highly recommend it. That, along with his article "Death by Bebop," are must reads for anybody interested in the fall of art forms in popular culture. So, the point of all of that little tangent is, first off, because I don't know why Tom Simon has not packaged his McStudge articles into a book, since I would buy it. It's easy money. The second point of that whole tangent is that there is one saving grace of Gilbert and Sullivan. That is the reason they haven't entirely fallen into obscurity, and it is this. Gilbert and Sullivan are in the public domain. Meaning, if you are a young theater company who wants to put on a show, Gilbert and Sullivan is right at your fingertips. And you don't need to pay a cent.
Oh, cheap. Yes. Yes.
Now, I once did a production of Godspell with two friends. We did it for charity, raised $2,000. It was good. And I don't at all regret doing it. In fact, I'm proud of the work we did. But the point being, we put on two shows, two being the minimum. We actually put on a technically illegal third show that was donation only. That is not allowed. You can't do that, but we did it. It's fairly common practice anyway. But we bought two shows that we charged actual tickets for. For these two shows, it cost $900 for the rights. Just the rights to use them. And this was considered surprisingly cheap.
Huh.
So you can imagine the appeal of a free musical that people have actually heard of, no less.
My. With songs
for a young theater company.
With songs that even an illiterate like myself can sing.
Exactly. I mean, Gilbert and Sullivan are pretty funny. They're not my favorites, but they're funny.
I like the VeggieTales parody of Modern Major General.
I've never seen it.
Hold on, I gotta find it. Or maybe he just sings it normally. I can't remember. That's how I would know it. So basically, what we're doing is we're discussing. He just sings it. Archibald just sings the normal
Modern Major General.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, actually.
Anyway.
It's a good song.
Exactly. The breathing. So it sounds like really these things are part of a cultural art that's more or less missing from what they should really be, which is such a pity because it is fun to see and to read. And I've done things like gone to my sister's orchestra practices and I don't know how. What would you call like an actual demonstration orchestra? Like the actual orchestras itself, which is very
I mean, a show.
yeah, but it's orchestra, Anthony. It's orchestra. But
And
yeah, you're right though.
a
Uh,
show. That's the
please
answer.
stop bullying me. All right, so which is excellent. You sit there and you're entertained for an hour, 2 hours, and it's something that I've never quite really ever had enough of in my life for the simple reason that well, yeah, I don't know where to get it sometimes, and I don't want to pay $50 when I do know where to get it. Though it's probably worth the cost, sort of. It's kind of snooty.
Sort of.
It's kind of snooty, Anthony.
Um, so I am quite unabashedly and openly a fan of musicals. At the risk of, you know, the effeminacy of modern musical theater is absolutely true and a real problem that I do not minimize at all.
I was actually going to
With
call
that,
you gay at some point in this thing.
I would be disappointed if you didn't. A.M. Freeman says a concert. Yeah, that would be correct.
Thank you, Ian Freeman. Look at her.
That's
Saving our
that's
bacon.
that's actually shockingly obvious, and I feel dumb for not saying it. Whatever. The point is, I am unabashedly a fan of musicals. I have been in several in high school one out of high school. Auditioned for others I didn't get into. I can't sing a lick. I'm a decent actor. And I am technically not out of key when I sing, which does put me above at least several high school singers. So I have gotten roles, though not huge ones. Uh, I was the wizard in The Wizard of Oz in high school.
Oh,
I was in a small show called The Fantastics. It was actually the longest running show musical ever. Ran off Broadway for over 50 years. Uh,
really? I haven't even heard of it.
you might have heard of one of the songs. Have you ever heard the song "Try to Remember"?
No, at least not off the
I'm
top of
I'm
my
actually
head.
I'm a little surprised at that because it was a big hit, but it's a little older too. But Try to Remember broke out of the Fantastics, but it broke out in a way that nobody knew it actually came from the Fantastics. Fantastics is a really good show. I was in that in a major role. I did get to sing in it, which is fun. Not good, but fun. I was a wizard in Wizard of Oz, and I was a small role in 42nd Street with the most talented cast I've ever been in. It was a youth theater, but it was really cool because I was in college at the time, so I was out of high school, and it was a youth theater. But for whatever reason, just this year, and I did the show the next year and was disappointed that it wasn't the case again. There were a ton of people who were out of high school in this show, like 6 people or something like that in the show were out of high school, so the show was an absolute blast to be in, and the cast was incredibly talented. So, 42nd Street is good fun show, and I've been just to give me a little bit more snooty bona fides. I was in a non-musical production of Hamlet once as the Gravedigger because in my which is a one scene role because I absolutely bombed my audition. Memorized my monologue, got up there, and then I forgot the entire thing. But I got in as the Gravedigger. So, point is, I have some experience with theater, and not all of it from high school. Some of it from outside of high school as well. So, I am by no means an expert. In terms of education, the most that I've gotten is some instrument lessons, and I took a class on fundamentals of music theory years ago. So that's the most I could do. April says, talk about the Ratatouille musical. Yes,
Go on.
I am happy to do that.
So, so we will talk about it. We will talk about it. But Anthony, would you say that you're the very model of a theater high school student failure? You've
No,
gotten you
because I
get
never.
to
No, I'm
I was
in all
gonna say,
seriousness
Anthony.
because I never tried to actually
Yes.
get into theater and acting because the field is horribly converged and completely corrupt, and it is, and even outside of that, it's almost get work in it anyway. So I never actually tried to get into the field in a real way. I keep it at arm's length. I enjoy it while recognizing that it is almost certainly irreparably broken.
So you didn't show up in plays, uh, operatic, uh, spoken word, or musical.
I didn't. I don't know what you mean. I'm confused.
So okay, you're the very model of a theater kid failure. You've been denied plays, operatic, uh,
I did not do
spoken word,
theater
or
until,
uh, musical. I'm doing a Gilbert and Sullivan reference, Anthony. Ah,
but it doesn't work.
it works.
I mean, the answer is no.
Yeah, but you know the writers of the plays, and you quote the songs, "Free Domain."
Well, yeah. I stopped. The Tonys used to be the best of the award shows because they would put on actual performances, and now they are by far the worst. They're just awful, which is a real shame. The convergence has gotten so bad. Not that Broadway was ever not converged, but I guess as culture changed, they were able to stop pretending after a while.
No, not the Tonys. Who could have converged the Tonys? Oh.
I mean, I'm assuming that they were always converged, like literally from their origins, but after a while they could stop pretending that they even gave a shit, so now they're just horrendous to watch, which is a shame because they used to be the only fun award show because you could actually watch performances. Uh, and now you get like absolute garbage like Fun Home, which is about the creator of the Bechdel test. Sounds
Ugh.
like a fun time at the theater. And
It's,
her
it's
abusive father. That's great shit.
yeah, it's exactly what we wanted. To
That's
entertain
what the
ourselves.
people wanted.
The people.
But why is Broadway? I don't understand why people aren't going to shows. It only cost me $100 for a ticket to a crappy show. I went on opening night of previews to a show called Bandstand with my family. It still cost over $50 for the ticket. At like this is the discounted rate, it was 50% off and everything. And the show was actually really good, except for the random gay dude that they dropped into it. Uh,
He
did
showed
it
up.
add anything? So the show, I actually like. It's a shame because Bandstand has really good music, and I like the story and the idea behind the story. Basically, it's about a guy who was in World War II, and his friend dies in World War II when he accidentally sets off a grenade and kills him. So he shows up after the war ends. He shows and meets the guy's widow, and kind of forms, and he starts a band, and they try and win a competition to get into a movie.
Okay.
So he of course gets into a relationship with the widow, and it's all good setup for a musical and whatever, right? Fun stuff, and you get to talk about how veterans are treated and whatever. But one of the veterans is gay, and he tells our guy this. And I'm like, okay, so let's pause for a moment and go back in the 40s. If you tell someone that you're gay, it's sort of like going up to someone going, I like to fuck my dog. That's like the best reaction that you could hope for that from a normal human being is, dude, never mention it again, and I will never bring it up again. That is the
Yep.
best reaction. It is the only semi-realistic reaction that isn't punching the dude in the face and then leaving and never coming back.
Yep.
Like, I don't think people understand just how much of a taboo homosexuality used to be. Like, it's the same problem in Captain America and Endgame when the guy, and John C. Wright pointed this out, when the guy is telling Captain America about, like, his boyfriend and Captain America is nodding sagely. People go, oh, well, he's been in the 20th century for, years now. Like, surely he's used to this, right? But, like, I don't think people understand just how much of a taboo it was. Like, it was legitimately, like, admitting that you liked having sex with animals.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that you could just kind of get used to. You know, it
Yep.
really disturbed people, and it obviously took me out of the show. It also took me out of the show because of the obvious virtues that
Obviously.
great, and
Yeah.
some of the music is fantastic. But the random gay dude just, it felt like a slap in the face because it So that's Broadway nowadays in a nutshell. So in 2010, let's segue. The winner of best. This was when Broadway was starting to get irreparably broken, but it wasn't quite there yet. Like the Tony Awards could still be somewhat entertaining. Is my criteria here. And in 2010, the winner of Best Musical was Hadestown.
Hold on. Let's talk about the
Hadestown was a
Ratatouille.
music.
Hold on. Real quick though. The
Oh, you want to
Ratatouille.
get to that first?
Yeah. Just real quick. Real quick.
Yes. So some dude on TikTok wrote a song saying, "Imagine if Ratatouille was a musical," and wrote a song for it. And then a bunch of people saw the TikTok and then started writing their own songs for the Ratatouille musical. It became really big, and eventually they did a concert, like on
Nice.
TV,
Beautiful.
with the most popular songs from the Ratatouille musical. There's really nothing to it. It's just really funny.
All right. Because I didn't know what it was, and I was
Yeah.
kind of like, was it like Shrek on Ice or something? I don't know.
Nope, the Ratatouille musical was basically a crowd-funded musical. And it was actually performed. Like they did it was maybe on TV, maybe it was one of the streaming services like Hulu or something, but they got like professional actors and whatever to do basically like they picked all of the best and most popular of the songs that people wrote for the Ratatouille musical and performed them, which is pretty amazing that they did that. Uh, it's pretty funny.
Good.
Be interesting if they actually turned it into a musical one day and then
That
use
would be
any of
neat.
the songs, but eh.
You know how Disney's been doing for money. All right, now I know what it is. I am satisfied. I am
They
satisfied.
also there's also a thing like it came out really quickly. Like the whole phenomenon to when the first song came out to the special that was aired was only like, I don't know, a little over a month or something like that. So it was like crazy fast.
Oh, then it was.
But yeah, I guess trying to capitalize on the trend, right?
Yeah, but they don't usually do that so fast. It's probably manufactured as hell.
It could have been. It might, but I think it might have just been the fact that they thought that the trend was going to die, so they cobbled something together. It could have been. I'm 50-50 on it. It it's possible it was manufactured though. Who knows?
I mean, you see what I do just
I
to make
also
no
don't
sense.
care.
Oh, that's true. That's fair. All right, that's fine.
Like if it was manufactured, it's the meme. Oh no. Anyway,
All right, fine. Okay, let's talk about Hadestown.
so Hadestown, the history of Hadestown, which is an adaptation of it's, I think, in my opinion, quite an ingenious idea. It's an adaptation of the Orpheus and Eurydice story in Greek mythology. For those who don't know, we've talked about it on here before. Orpheus falls in love with a woman named Eurydice who dies suddenly, and he is the son of a muse normally, sometimes the son of Apollo, depending on the version. But the point is, he is a brilliant musician and singer, and he finds his way to the underworld, where he sings so beautifully that Hades agrees to allow him to take Eurydice back up with him to the surface on the condition that at no point in their trip to the surface does Orpheus look around. Tragically, he begins to get paranoid that Eurydice is not following him, so right before the exit of the underworld, he gives in to his doubt and turns around and sees Eurydice, who now cannot go up with him and is pulled back into the underworld. The real story actually continues with Orpheus going around and singing super sad songs that were so depressing that eventually a crowd of insane women who were loyal to Dionysus murdered him.
Yeah.
Uh, but then like some god kept his head and just used it to sing songs to them all the time. That is actually the story. But that doesn't matter. Everybody always
Beautiful.
stops it at, and then Orpheus. Everybody always stops it as, and then Eurydice went back, and Orpheus lost the end.
Not the point
So
where he was
Hadestown,
torn apart by angry co-eds because he wouldn't play
yeah,
their greatest hits.
exactly. So Hadestown is partially an adaptation of the Orpheus and Eurydice musical. The genius, in my opinion, of Hadestown, because there have been many, many, many adaptations of Orpheus and Eurydice. True story. The song, you know, the Can Can song.
Da, 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 da. No wait.
Yep, that's it. Da 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 da
There
da
we go.
da da da. That song. That
Okay.
comes from an opera called Orpheus in the Underworld.
Huh.
I learned this recently. Go figure. So
Huh.
there have been many, many adaptations of the Orpheus and Eurydice myth. The genius of Hadestown is combining it with the myth of Hades and Persephone. So the plot of Hadestown goes like this. They live in some sort of nebulous depression era world. They don't actually say the year or the location, but the vibe that you're supposed to get from it is, and it's more clear if you see it on stage, which I know you only listen to the concept album, but is that it's like 1930s-ish depression. And Orpheus, there has been some sort of issue apparently with the seasons are not in tune. They don't explain exactly what that means, but like apparently spring is too short, winter is too long, everybody is suffering as a result. And this is because that the marriage of Hades and Persephone is on the rocks. There is an issue with the marriage. So Orpheus's goal is to write a song that can bring the world back into tune. He is going to write a song that will repair the relationship of Hades and Persephone and bring back the spring and repair the weather. And that's when he falls in love with Eurydice. So I think this is quite a genius addition to the story because it combines, it shows, you know, why he would be working, I guess, on a story that would appeal to Hades and Persephone so specifically, and creates a parallel between Hades and Persephone and Orpheus and Eurydice and their two relationships. Anais Mitchell, who's the creator of Hadestown, also does something else. She decides she's going to give agency to the women in the story. Now, this is Greek mythology, so naturally, the women in the original story in the original Greek myths had absolutely no agency whatsoever. Uh, it's the Greek way. But in the Hadestown, Persephone is not kidnapped by Hades, but she chooses him willingly. So a lot less creepy. And more importantly, Eurydice does not randomly die, but Orpheus is ignoring her because he is so focused on writing the song and she is starving. And Hades offers her a job in his underground factory, Hadestown, in exchange for leaving and coming down to work for him. So they give Eurydice some agency here, and then you learn that like she's kind of sort of tricked. You know, like she's now signed her life away to work for Hadestown till she drops dead. They have a really cheeky line that's not in the concept album where Hermes goes, "What Eurydice was dead," and then he pauses and goes, "Dead to the world anyway." And I'm just like, I don't like that line. That's too on the nose.
Right.
That's too much.
It's too much of a wink and a nod.
Exactly. Because he goes, what Eurydice was dead, and then he probably goes, dead to the world anyway. And it's just like, shut up. We all know what the real myth is.
Right.
Yeah. You don't need to sell it to us, but that's like an uber nitpick. So yeah, whatever.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I'm down with it.
yeah, it's really the only time in the show. To be honest, I think it's a very smart adaptation. Now, there is a whole criticism of capitalism here, which I've discussed with Ben, and I actually don't think that the criticism of capitalism works particularly the way that they want it to.
Right.
But I'll get to that later. With that said, I also don't think that this is necessarily a criticism of the show itself, because the reason that the critique of capitalism that they're going for doesn't work is because the story is so heavily focused on the relationships of Orpheus, Eurydice, and Hades and Persephone, which it absolutely has to be for the story to work at all.
Yep.
And there's really nothing else to the plot. Orpheus goes down to the underworld. He learns that Eurydice has signed her life away. He sings the song that brings the world back into tune to Hades and Persephone. Hades agrees to let him out on the condition he doesn't look back. Orpheus looks back. The end. Yeah. It's a sad ending. It's a tragedy, right?
Yep.
But I think it's a good show. I'm very entertained by it. The critique of capitalism comes from Hadestown itself, and the fact that everybody has to sign their life away to work there. And Hades goes, nobody's here who doesn't agree to be here. And they also have a line, again, I don't think, Ben, that you would have heard it, because I'm pretty sure it was not in the concept album, but they have a line where Orpheus says something like, if everybody shares, we will always raise our cups, and there will always be enough, when Persephone is hanging out on the surface with them. So there's a little bit of communist logic there.
Yeah, but it requires literal magic to work. So I guess I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So the big criticism, so the reason I don't think that the critique of capitalism in Hadestown necessarily works the way that she wants it to, is that the story is so heavily focused on Hades himself and changing the heart of Hades. If you want it to be a critique of capitalism, it needs to be about changing the corrupt capitalist system.
Right.
And that is there. But what resolves the story is Hades taking pity on Orpheus because he created a beautiful song. This turns the message to something like Hades should be showing them noblesse oblige, which doesn't actually change the system at all. Now, you could say, too, that, oh, well, the issue is that Hades is the one who's creating this. That's why Orpheus says, as long as we share, there will always be enough. But I don't know. That seems to be pretty iffy, because now that's going to imply that Hades is going to suddenly start treating everybody well, because that doesn't solve the problem of the people in the factory, right? Like the people who are working in Hadestown. Sure, you might have improved life for the people on the surface, but the only thing that can change life for the people who are actually in Hadestown is if Hades decides to treat them better. You know, it's really it doesn't really critique the system at all. It critiques individual people.
Yep.
And again, this isn't actually a bad thing. It absolutely needs to work like that for the story to work. But I don't think that it works as a critique of capitalism. Cordell Mitchell is here. Howdy, howdy.
Hey,
hello,
Cam.
Cordell. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing it, so sorry about that.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, as far as Hadestown in terms of overall construction, it started life as what Anais Mitchell called a folk opera, played 5 shows, really doing anything for them, and she decided that the smartest move was to turn it into a concept album, then go around and tour it. This, shockingly enough, actually worked. It got off Broadway, and then eventually moved on to Broadway. As a result, we have 3 different versions of the show. The original folk opera version of the album, to my knowledge, does not exist. Like, there are no copies of the soundtrack when it was just an opera, a folk opera. But
Right.
we do have the original concept album version of it. That is still out there floating around on YouTube and can be watched. And we have the soundtrack version of the off Broadway show. And we have the soundtrack of the Broadway show. The most interesting change, I think, in these three versions, besides the fact that they added a ton of songs, which I prove it, uh, the centerpiece song of the show, which is known as Epic 3, it's only Epic 2, by the way, in the concept album, because she only did one other version of the song. But
Ah.
so Epic 3, or Epic 2, we'll just call it Epic, is the centerpiece song of Hadestown. It is the song that Orpheus needs to sing to convince Hades to let him take Eurydice out of the underworld. As a result, there is a ton of pressure on the song Epic, right? It needs to be fantastically moving, or the entire story falls apart. Now, the original concept version of the song, you will often hear people say that they like this version of the song the best, and it's easy to see why, because this is the most poetic version of Epic. The off-Broadway version is still changes it a little bit, but it's still very poetic. The Broadway version of Epic 3 is pretty fascinating because it's probably the least poetic of the three versions, but it's definitely my favorite of the three. What I like about Epic 3, about the version that's used on Broadway, is the way that Orpheus sings it sort of makes it like he's figuring it out on the fly. Like, he has a line in the version of Broadway where he's describing the relationship between Hades and Persephone, and he says, "And I know how it was because it was like me, a man in love with a woman." And I like that line because it sort of shows that, like, now that he's on the spot and he needs to figure it out, like, it's do or die. He has to figure it out right now. He finally hits on the connection because before, when he was first trying to write the song, he wasn't married to Eurydice. Now he's married to Eurydice and he's undergone struggles with Eurydice, so he finally understands the struggles that Hades could have been going through with Persephone, and he's able to express that in the music. And supposedly, people who watched the Broadway show say that the Epic 3 scene is tremendously moving. That even though it might not be the most lyrically interesting of the three versions of the song, its power to move people live is unparalleled. And I could believe it. That sounds plausible to me. I think that lyrically, Hadestown is a very, very smart show. The way that lyrics build on each other as the story goes on, and how they call back to previous scenes and things like that. I also enjoy all of the different styles of music in it. Mostly, I would give Hadestown solid 9 of 10. Very good, not absolutely perfect, but pretty close. Ben, your thoughts on the concept album version that you listened to, so not the full version.
Right. Hold on a second. Artist space. Hold on a second. For some reason, my graphics card has been stuttering recently. And I have no idea why. I updated it. I know exactly why. I updated the dang thing, and that was a mistake. It's always a mistake to update your graphics card, and I don't know why. I fall for the meme every time. All right.
You are absolutely correct, by the way. It's always a mistake.
Anyway, let's see here. Where is I brought up the lyrics? So here's the thing. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed Hades' line and the plot lines and stuff like that. And having somebody like explain to me several parts of it just kind of helps out. Partially because somebody said something. Ben, you're really quiet, brah. All right, let's try this.
I can hear you fine, so I don't know.
Yeah, but that's over Discord.
True.
Really, it's something with OBS that makes me quiet, even though I swear I am. Okay, I updated myself a bit more. I thought I was all the way up, but now no, that was you that was all the way up. Let me just check my volume. Oh,
Aha.
my mic was at 50, not 100%. So basically, I have a trickster of a god for a audio set of drivers, and I don't know why, but basically it cuts me out. So I've boosted myself up to 100%. That should help. Even though it's already 100% on my dashboard, but whatever, it's okay. It's all right. So I brought up, because I am that sort of person, the lyrics for Modern Major General, but also Hadestown. So a few of the songs are fantastic. Hey Little Songbird, Why We Build the Wall.
You liked Wedding Song, right?
I also like the Wedding Song, which is the first song, and the song that really has to be good. If it's not good, no one's going to like the song.
See, it's funny because I'm pretty sure it's not the first song in the Broadway version. I'm trying to remember. The first song, it's in the Broadway version. They turn Hermes into the narrator. He's, you know, that guy at the beginning of Wait for Me who says how to get to Hadestown and gives that little thing.
That was that's
Hermes. That's Hermes, and he becomes the narrator in the Broadway version.
I mean,
and
sure.
Which is a smart idea. I think it's a good idea. I think it was a good idea to do it.
He's probably the one Greek god that can get away with doing it.
Yeah, he was a good pick for the role, especially because Hermes is somebody who actually travels to the underworld as a messenger god.
Yep. So there's a few songs, and like I like the music. So the actual audio and stuff like that is pretty excellent. Like how the music plays with the voices and the characterizations and so on and so forth. It all works for me. You can tell the age of Hades. Persephone has her bit. Again, you know, having a woman have agency in the Greek era is an astounding and strange, wondrous thing, more rare than a unicorn. But I kind of thought it was interesting, you know, where Persephone says, "What the boss doesn't hurt him," or whatever.
What the boss don't know, the boss won't mind. Yeah,
Yep.
That's Our Lady of the Underground.
Yep. Like, honestly, I like the songs quite a bit, except there are at certain points, like parts where I just get so frustrated with the words. Like How We Build the Wall is fine because it's a sort of like chant and response, which tickles my little Protestant heart. But also, it just works like that, where he's like standing over.
Well, so what's going on in How We Build the Wall, like structurally, is that he's getting them to. He needs them to say it, right? Like he's asking them a question. He needs them to give the right answer. And then, after they give the right answer, he's joining in with them.
Sure.
But he's ensuring first that they understand. Like, you know, he's not going to guide them there. They got to know it. And then, only then, will he join in with the singing.
Okay. I didn't get that part. You know, because it just looked like
I enjoy the different styles that you see throughout it. Like Persephone's songs definitely have their own style. Yeah. You know, as opposed to Eurydice's songs and things like that. And Orpheus, and I also really, really like the contrast that Hades has an unbelievably deep voice, probably the single deepest voice I have like ever heard singing. Yeah. You know, and Orpheus has an incredibly high-pitched voice. Believe it or not, the concept album actually sells this short. Reeve Carney, and Damon Dono, who play them on and off Broadway actually are even higher pitched.
Huh.
Like, it's kind of insane.
That is pretty crazy. All right. So there was a line that did bother me, and I think it's for how long.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy because this is just the concept album where he goes. It's more like he's speaking it than he's singing it, but he's singing it as well. You and your pity don't fit in my bed. You know, and you just whatever. I
Yeah.
don't remember. You just burn like a fire in the pit of my bed, and I turn like a bird on the spit in my bed. How long? How long? How long? And it's basically Persephone arguing about their issues and the love and stuff like that. And there's a certain logic.
So the scene is she is technically, even though it kind of, you're supposed to get that it's sort of a reflection of their larger issues, but officially the argument is he should let Eurydice go.
Yeah. No.
And obviously it turns into it it turns into a sort of argument about their larger issues.
Right.
So I know what you're referring to, and it is still in the Broadway version. I do like Persephone's line after that.
How long?
When she goes,
just as long as I am your wife.
"As long as I am your wife, it's true that the earth must die, but then the earth comes back to life."
Yep.
And
the sun
can't remember what she
on.
says exactly, but I like that bit of it.
The fact that you remember this is pretty impressive because a lot of stuff in my head just kind of goes in and out until I see it a few times.
Well, I have listened to it a few times, so that's why. But yeah. But so I remember it. Like I said, it's not a 10 of 10 for me. Like, it's a 9 of 10. So this isn't the perfect. Is it? If I were to give it a tier list, though, I guess I would put it in the S tier, but it would be on the low end of the S tier. It would be somewhere between the A and, I would say.
By the way, make sure could someone give me a confirmation of my volume, please? But let's go back to it. So I actually care. I do like the idea of a musical having good music and stuff like that. But having, sometimes I listen to stuff and the wording is just absolutely terrible, or I don't like the lyrics and stuff like that. So the thing is that how he says bed 3 times. I don't want to belabor it too much, but I kind of have to. Not only is he doing spoken word, which messes with the timing against his wife, which is a contrast thing, but doesn't quite hit for me, but I'm not worried about that. Ignore that now that I've said it. But it's compounded by the fact that he pauses before bed, and pauses after bed sometimes. So there's these weird inflections on bed, which I guess if they're trying to imply that Persephone and Hades are also having, shall we say, conjugal problems, that would, I guess, fit. But it's and then.
So I think the repetition there, Hades is feeling trapped, hence the repetition. He's repeating it because he doesn't understand the situation. He doesn't see a way out of it, so he's repeating it. Persephone doesn't repeat. And the reason that Persephone, I'm going thematically here, and this is me doing my own, by the way, exegesis on it, so, maybe I'm totally missing it, but Persephone does not feel trapped in the same way. Or at the very least, Persephone sees a way out. She understands it in a way that Hades does not. I mean, the villain of the story is Hades. It's not Persephone.
Right.
They're having marital problems, but they're having marital problems, and Hades is the proximate cause, I think, is what you're supposed to get out of it. It is interesting, you're right. She says what the boss don't know, the boss won't mind. She's given things to the work, she's slipping things to the workers, but she's hiding it from Hades, which is pretty interesting.
Right. I don't... It's...
So, for all their talk about, she's the queen, she's a little bit afraid of Hades.
So here's the thing, though. This is where I show off my writing bona fides. Um, so here's the thing. Like, they could have made it work just fine by him going, "You and your pity don't fit in my bed. You just burn like a fire in the pit. And I turn like a bird on a spit. How long? How long? How long?" Obviously, change it up a bit, but because it needs one more syllable inside both of those sentences. But that's not important, at least to my ear, when I said it out loud, which is more important than me reading it. Because both the bird on a spit and the fire in a pit and him on his bed are trapped. Do you get me? I'm saying that.
I get what you're saying. What I'm saying, though, too, is that, and we mentioned this earlier, so I'll say it now. I don't know if you can necessarily call this a mistake in that, she messed up the time. Like, Anais Mitchell clearly knows how to do rhymes.
Right.
In fact, she's very, very good at rhyming. Some of the lyrics, I think, are border on brilliant. Not all of them. Like, I don't think every single song or line in the show is genius, but I do think there are moments in the show that at least border on brilliance. In terms of like parallels and things like that. So the fact that she was repeating bed in there was an intentional choice, and I'm trying to just to figure out why.
Because it's a reference to their probable marriage problems.
Probably.
Probably.
That's probably the intention.
Not that I.
But you're right. That's not to say it necessarily worked, but that's probably the intention.
Well, my problem isn't so much the intention or whatever. It's that it repeats itself, and I just find it weird, and I find it discordant in ways that I don't like as a writer. And sometimes they'll show up like this, and there's this weird like focus on the word where it doesn't need to focus on the word because I already got what you're laying down there, sister. But it's not. I don't know. I just find the
I get you.
weird.
It's a pretty small moment, though. All things considered. I get your point. I liked How Long, though. I think it works.
How Long was fun.
I think it's a shame some of the reprises you're missing were really, really good. Like Way Down Hadestown, they have a reprise in the Broadway version, and in the Way Down Hadestown is Way Down Hadestown, way down under the ground. That song.
Right.
So they have a reprise version where Eurydice is in the underworld, and she signs her papers, and she goes out, and the Furies start like mocking her, basically. She goes, and it's actually like it's really good, especially lyrically. I think it's really good. Goes, does nobody hear me? Could go, they can hear, but they don't care. No, and she goes, doesn't anybody see me? And they go, they can look, but they don't see. Then they go, aren't we free? And then they go, Mr. Hades sets you free to work yourselves into the ground, free to spend eternity in the warehouse. That the Fates honestly might be the best part of the show. The Fates are really good. They're the ones who sing Chips. If you don't know who they are, they sing the down.
Right. No, I got. Yeah, I dig it.
And Chips Are Down is a pretty good song. I really liked the Way Down Hadestown reprise, and the Wait For Me reprise actually became like the most famous scene in the show. There's like a YouTube video that's just the end of the reprise of Wait For Me, like on a loop. because that's the line where you when Orpheus goes, "I'm coming, wait for me. I feel walls receding." That that moment.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that's in the concept album though, actually. So maybe you don't know it.
I don't know. Sometimes like
it's not.
He sings about it. I just don't know if it was its own song or not because I kind of listened to it all at once, like in one long thing.
It's Wait For Me. That's the Wait For Me song, which
Oh.
is definitely in the concept album. It's the one where Hermes starts off by going, "How to get to Hadestown? You have to
Oh,
take the long
yes.
way down." That song.
Yes.
So I don't actually remember if the concept album has, but in every other version of the show, it ends it with Orpheus singing a little thing where he goes, "I'm coming, wait for me. I feel the wall." Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna sing it because I can't sing, but I'm not Orpheus. But Eurydice, they do a reprise of the song where Hermes explains to Orpheus what he needs to do. And he goes, is it a trick? No, it's a trial. And then they do Wait For Me with all the workers of Hadestown, like singing behind them in solidarity. And then Eurydice comes in, and in what is honestly a brilliant bit of lyrical mirroring, sings the chorus of Wait For Me, where she goes, "I'm coming, wait for me," that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just an ingenious piece of lyrical mirroring there, of Eurydice singing the song to Orpheus as they leave the underworld, as opposed to Orpheus singing it as he's coming to the underworld to get Eurydice.
Right, right.
That's one of the moments in Hadestown where, like, I genuinely admire the writer coming up with that. But it's also one of those things that when you say it out loud, it doesn't sound that impressive, does it? Yeah.
No.
Right? It's
Right.
like, so she repeated the song, whatever. But that's the thing. It wasn't in the original version of it.
But she
And
repeated the song.
yeah, it wasn't in the original version. And also, that means she had to write the song in such a way that the lyrics applied perfectly in both cases with no real major changes.
Right. No.
Like, if you think that's easy, you try and do it.
Right. No.
Yeah.
It's fantastically hard, and it's well done if it's done well, and all these other things. Like I'm not a genius with musicals or anything like that, but I can recognize good writing. It's just not in the concept album. I guess I don't know. It's
Unfortunately, the concept album doesn't have any of the reprises, which I guess makes sense, to be honest.
yeah.
Because it's a concept album, you're not going to repeat the same song twice because people have already heard it.
It's true. I
It's an
guess
album.
I don't know.
It's an album.
I'd do it if it was required. Like just because it's like let's.
So part of it was that Anais Mitchell was a songwriter, not a musical person, and apparently the final version of the show. I'm going off memory here, but I believe the director she worked with, Rachel Chavin, was like a critically acclaimed director. And if you look at Hadestown, you'll often see that the show was like, it's often called co-written by her and Rachel Chavin because she had such a big hand in like altering the show for the stage.
I
Yeah.
altered the show. Pray I don't alter it any further. Right, I get you.
Well, it won them a Tony, so back when that sort
Well,
of mattered. I mean, it didn't really matter, but it mattered more than it does now, certainly.
yeah,
It
it's
was
true.
2010 that this happened, so 11 years ago. That's a decent amount of time.
Right.
That's enough for it. It's still the Tonys were always converged, but they still cared somewhat about what people actually liked.
Right. It's kind of like how no one actually knew what was on the 2020 Oscars, uh, just
Yeah,
because.
I actually find that really funny, but whatever. I I have nothing but Schadenfreude for it. It actually it makes my family slightly annoyed. Like I go, you know, Disney's not doing well here, and I go, good. And they go, why? You want Disney to die? I said, I absolutely want Disney to die. It's like, I don't think you understand. If Disney went out of business, I would be extremely happy. Disney is evil. They deserve to die. It's like, I mean, and they're
Canon.
like, well, I hope that they get repaired. And I'm like, no, I actually don't even hope that they get repaired because the people who run that company don't deserve success.
Yep.
I want the company to die. I want them to fail. I do not want them to ever make money.
Yep. Every time
So,
I hear.
and it makes them mad because they're like, oh, but Disney goes through stages and whatever. It's not a stage. They're, kill it
Right.
with fire.
There's a difference between trying to experiment like they did with the Black Cauldron and actively hating their fan bases. And I'm not going to turn this into a hate on Disney stream, even though it richly deserves every ounce of hate we can throw at it. So going back
Well,
to
it's not just Disney. Burn Broadway to the ground too. Is like what
sure,
I think. That's why people go. Broadway is really struggling in the pandemic. So I was like, I'm not going to donate to Broadway. I'm
donate
glad
to
Broadway's
Broadway.
struggling.
Donate to
So yeah, it's like
Broadway.
I do have people who work on Broadway, like somebody who I was in a show with in high school, a costume designer on Broadway, and they're like, Broadway's really struggling, and I have actor friends who are struggling. I'm like, I hope Broadway goes out of business. I want them to struggle. Go, well, don't you like going to Broadway shows? Like, yes, sometimes I occasionally enjoy show, but I don't enjoy it as much as the probably horrendous amount of abuse going on behind the scenes. Almost certainly.
Right.
I don't like the fact that they absolutely hate me and mine and everything I stand for. So, no, I hope Broadway dies. I want Broadway to go bankrupt. That was one of the best things to come out of the coronavirus, that Broadway was suffering.
I love it. So every time I hear "Way Down to Hadestown," I think, what's that one song? Tell Moses to let my people go.
Nice.
Way.
Yeah, I could hear it a little bit. There's some of the lines in Way Down in Hadestown I like too. They have a section, and this may or may not have been the concept album. I honestly don't remember. But they got a little bit in the middle of the song where they go, sold to the king on the chromium throne. And then they go, throne to the bottom of a Sing Sing cell. And I just really like that moment and the way that they play with the words there.
Yeah.
It's pretty clever.
No, and that
So
is
yeah,
clever work.
it it's a mostly like, it's not a flawless show, but it is a mostly clever show, I would say. It's a mostly very clever show, and I do think that the way that it uses Greek mythology is quite brilliant. I think the way that the wedding of the Hades and Persephone myth with the Orpheus and Eurydice myth is a surprisingly intelligent choice. And I also like that they keep the sad ending.
Yeah.
I think that it needs to end that way. I think you lose a lot of the power of the story if you don't give it a sad ending.
That's true. No arguments.
Yeah. I think the idea is that the reason that Orpheus can't succeed is that we all just kind of know once you're dead, right? It wouldn't
Yep.
ring true. It wouldn't ring true if Eurydice came back. We wouldn't buy it because people don't come back from the dead.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Hadestown. The other thing that we wanted to talk about specifically, because you suggested it to me, was the New Albion Radio Hour.
And it's Diesel Punk Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
We return to
That
Claire's
was the one that I mentioned early on. It refers to itself as a diesel punk opera, but it is in fact incorrect. It is not an opera because there is spoken word at certain points of the song of the album.
Look at this nerd.
Technically, so
nerd.
Yeah, right. But the New Albion Radio Hour, was that ever actually put on stage? Because I would actually be very curious to see an actual production of it. I don't think so, but it would be fun.
I don't think so either. Basically, I caught a glimpse of it somehow in college. I don't know how, I don't know when, but it just sort of came in. And, I've been enjoying it ever since.
I would be fascinated to see a staged production of it, because honestly, I don't even really know how you would do it.
I mean, the whole scene with In the Fire where he burns a bunch of rebels and voodoo punks and the Lock and Load, Let It Go, the lonesome shide shows coming on down to town.
I mean, I'm sure you could.
Yeah,
you could do just about anything with creative enough staging and abstract imagery and things like that.
Why can't I remember what those guys were
But
called?
it would be really interesting. I
It
don't
would.
remember.
It would. Like, well, they're the stormtroopers of the elites or whatever, and it's the red something.
So here's what I want to know: is the guy who created this based?
No,
He's not.
I don't.
I'm
I don't.
actually slightly surprised
I don't know.
because they have a line in the song "The Pitch" where they go over to what's the guy's name? Yeah, the
Uh,
main character,
right.
the
It's.
super soldier.
I can't remember his name. Hold on a second.
I'm blanking on the name, but when they go to his house and they convince him to join the super soldier program, he starts off by going, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help," and that is a famous Ronald Reagan quote,
Yeah, but
where Ronald Reagan said that the scariest words in the English language are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
yeah,
So it makes me think they're quoting Ronald Reagan in the musical. That makes me wonder
that
you
doesn't
know,
mean anything. I don't
are they
think.
bucking the trend?
I don't like. First off, this
No,
was in
they,
2010, give or take, and it
still
no, like Paul Shapiro is. I have not seen any.
Paul Shapira. His name is
Yeah,
Paul
Paul Shapiro.
Shapira.
Shapera.
Pera. Okay.
Yep. So that was John O'Brien. Um, I do like his solo because the guy just goes bathe in the fire, and he starts rising up louder and louder, and he just starts tearing him apart. After his, I think his sister.
Yeah, so many of these songs are good. I think it's. I honestly think it's a shame that there's no stage version of it. Holy crap! Paul Shapira has tons of albums.
Yeah.
I am gonna have to become a fan of it. I'm gonna have to become a fan of this guy.
Oh my goodness, what have I done?
And he has the new Albion Radio Hour is one of 3 Albion shows. There's also the Dolls of New Albion and the New Albion Guide to Analog Consciousness.
So the Dolls is the prequel, and the other one is the sequel. Though really, I think they're a trilogy.
So give me 1 second because I need to use the bathroom. Go and talk about how much you love this show. I don't know. Just gush about it for a while.
But I can't do this without my co-host. Anyway,
It's okay. I believe in you.
right,
I'll be back.
all right, I'll trust you. So so the new Albion Radio Hour. The basic plot is that John O'Brien, man turned into a super soldier after his wife's death, is the only super soldier to have survived the process. So he's the only one. His whole thing is that he believes his family is dead, so he just fights on behalf of the government, who is having a civil war issue, led by the voodoo punks and the rebels. Um, Constance O'Brien is his daughter. She's a thief and a few other things like that. And basically, she gets kind of tossed around by the winds of the plot, which kind of moves her around from the voodoo punks and other things to the voodoo punks, who more or less use a machine along with the quasi mind control helmets that the blood red dogs have. It's not really mind control. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's kind of weird. It lets them set up. So like, there's this great scene where they introduce the music in the song "Blood Red Dogs," where they're basically going to destroy the rebels once and for all. And there's these various characters who are in love with each other, not in love with each other. You know, John O'Brien and Constance O'Brien finally meet together. They're returned. The Blood Red Dogs come in and they go, they start singing to themselves to keep themselves in tune while they fight. And, all of a sudden, the guy goes, they're sending in something with our radios, keep singing, we can fight them back. And then the control guy starts singing the voodoo punk song, Dale, oh, don dale, dale, oh. And so, like, what happens is that the song transforms from the Blood Red Dogs to the voodoo punk anthem. And it's just fantastic. It is this progression that works because it doesn't go all the way at once. It doesn't go take its time or anything like that. It just hits it exactly at what bars it needs to do, which is important. It's mind control kind of has this weird thing where people just go, "Oh, she's in control or he's in control." But really it's a smooth motion. A motion from full control to partial to control to half control to no almost no control to no control, and it goes from that, and it's pretty great. This moves on to a few different songs. Storyville Station, which is kind of about an ideal world from Constance's perspective, with her father John, and let's see here, and then it goes into the finale where um, Jacqueline O'Brien, who is part of the rebellion, the resistance, back in 2010 when it was still cool, fights alongside John O'Brien, is killed, and he goes berserk for it. Huh. Anyway, apparently she was part of a cult and other things like that. It's weird because the TV tropes doesn't talk about things I remember in the song, and I listen to these songs pretty regularly. Like they're one of the few things that stay in my playlist. Uh, what I can't remember what the key for the Voodoo Punks machine is, but they kind of figure it out. They use some sort of voodoo song to hypnotize everyone. So at the end of it, all the forces arrayed, except for the Voodoo Punks, are destroyed. They're wiped out to a man. And it's supposedly, it's one of those things where, well, maybe life goes on like this, maybe it's better like that, but really, it's kind of like the city's recovered, but it's not the same that it was before. It's kind of interesting because it's all goes out there, and like even the narrator, when it's in the height of the voodoo punk stuff, Jacqueline tries to reason with him to change fate, but he refuses and kills her and her brother instead. It's quite interesting. And it's taken as a sacrifice. Instead of killing Constance, the daughter of John, he kills John and Jacqueline. It's interesting. Like it's one of those things that has a decent amount of depth to it when you look at it. Where if he's the bad guy or he's not the bad guy, does he win? Does he experience anything? What goes on here? With these characters and their sort of like fall into destruction, except for Thomas and Constance, and the city itself, which is its own character. The first song more or less talks about it quite a bit. It's hard to sort of like talk about it because even though I like it a lot, like the Green Room Pale, where John is in this room where these mannequins with TVs for heads with the pictures of his supposedly dead family look back at him is quite horrible and dramatic and memorable. Or when the Voodoo Punks are singing,
I'm back.
Sups Up, or the Blood Red Dogs, or the finale where he just starts screaming in the fire, bathe in the fire. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. I'm back.
Yes.
So I enjoyed it. Thing is, I don't really have anything that interesting to say about it, I'm afraid, except that it's a really cool idea.
What stuck out with you, Anthony? What warms the
favorite song? I like the soiree. I like the pitch. I enjoyed basically all the sections with the little narrator who sings and who does the exposition.
Yep.
I thought I thought those are all good. I think those are all good. Uh, really well done. I am very curious to look at some of his other stuff. Some of them look boring, but
Yeah.
some of them look pretty good. The Broken Cyborg. Oh, which is also in New Albion. Wow, a lot of I'm looking through it. A lot of them actually take place in New Albion. Interesting.
I only ever cared about the Diesel Punk Orchestra. I tried listening through other ones, but they never quite hit me as
Opera.
much. You
The
know?
Lost Fairy, A Fairy Tale. Uh, Katie Shaw and The Search for the Stolen Secret. Nash Harding and The Secret of the Twisted Tower doesn't look good. I actually really dislike that 60s inspired aesthetic there.
Yeah.
But that's just a personal thing.
I
That's
tried to
just a
listen to
personal
that
thing,
one,
but
and I didn't like it.
this is a personal thing, but I really am not a fan of the aesthetic at all.
Yeah.
But some of these do look pretty cool. The Broken Cyborg. Uh, let's see. The Lost Fairy looks like it could be good. And I'm gonna listen to the other ones in the Albion trilogy as well. Let me see. He has a blog. Does he update it? Yes, he does.
Oh.
He last updated it today. Or yesterday, actually. April 17th. Okay. Coming soon. The Post-Human Playhouse, the book. Cover by Pixel Wave. Interesting. Surprise tracks are upcoming projects. Let's see. I'm curious. The next big thing to hit will be The King in Yellow by Matthew Broyles and myself as Apuk the Destroyer. It is especially good. I am in love with it.
That actually does sound pretty good.
Uh, I don't know what that means though. Is it an album? Is it what?
So the
Beginning
king.
in April, I will start outlining a big project, the Post-Human War. Over the course of April, I will get it all set up and ready to go, reconnect with the strangers to get ranges if I don't have them. Be 6 acts, and each act will premiere on a YouTube listen. Oh, holy shit! I think I'm gonna become a Paul Shapiro fan
Oh my goodness.
officially. That actually sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 and I'm looking through his about page. It's also incredible. If you click on about, I'm going to read it word for word. So keep in mind you are missing nothing. This is exactly what he wrote. About. The teddy bears are not teddy bears. They are lost and lonely beings from a once great species who spanned the metaverse. A race who left their home long ago until, cut off from the biosphere that produced them, they mutated and de-evolved until now they were few, no longer capable of the same feats of intellect and ingenuity as before. They no longer remember where their home was or even how to get back to the strand they had once left so long ago. That is how he starts his about page.
That is
Incredible.
that is incredible.
Oh, does he have a podcast? Looks like he might. He's either
Oh
on a
my goodness.
podcast or he has a podcast. And so we reach the end of our tale, which has been 3 years in the telling. We end where the next big album, The Transhuman War, will pick up. But I would like to take the story part of the podcast, edit it, tighten it up, do a second draft, and release it as an ebook. What? Wait. Does he have like a story? Is it like a podcast like Pinkerton's Ghosts?
Maybe a lot of people
I
do
think it is.
podcasts like Pinkerton's Ghosts.
The final podcast, episode 29, The No More Part 5.
Anthony,
Damn! I am gonna be. I'm
yeah,
gonna have to really pay attention to this guy.
I regret ever suggesting that we do this.
No, you don't.
I kind of do.
You don't even. You don't even a little. Check out the podcast. The New Albion Radio app presents Astonishing Tales of the Highly Unlikely, featuring a perpetually salty Lloyd. It tells the story of the post-human characters who come to create the legendary First Playhouse. Huh. Huh.
Huh?
Music. Let's see. Yes, it's Dolls of New Albion there. Whatever. Paul Shapira. Good to know. Now I'm a fan. And admit it, you don't regret it at all.
I'm just worried
You
about
don't
my
regret it.
scripts. I'm just worried about my scripts, okay?
Why are you worried about your scripts?
I'm always worried
This
about
can only
scripts.
help your scripts.
I'm always
This
worried
can
about
only
scripts.
help your scripts.
I'm always worried about them.
It's gonna make your scripts better. It'll give me ideas.
I'm hoping. I can't wait.
Diesel Punk is gonna be introduced into Pinkerton's Ghost. And let's do, in our final roughly half hour, 34 minutes. Also, hello to Fiona Wolf, who has been one of our regular listeners for a while. Nice to see you here. Fiona Wolf has, going by the comments section of our videos, has been binging through Pinkerton's Ghosts, and we appreciate that highly.
Every second of them.
So, hello to Fiona Wolf, and she says, that sounds fun. Teddy bears from the outer limits. Slay the typo dragon. Well, for our final, now we are at 33 minutes. Roughly. Yeah, unless we want to go longer since it's our show.
Huh?
Let us discuss. I said unless we want to go longer, because it's our live stream.
Right, but we're an hour and 27 minutes or something in there.
Yeah, whatever. 33, 32. Gasp. 32 minutes. The Pinkerton's Ghost musical.
Okay. All right.
We're doing this.
Yeah, we're
doing
this.
Ben brought this up, and I said, Ben, don't mess with me here, because don't think that I won't do it. I'll do it, and I will. I will do it. The Pinkerton's Ghost musical. But there are so many questions.
So little time. I am going into a tunnel, Anthony. I'm afraid it is an entire tunnel. I am going through the tunnel in England. Big surprise! I took another vacation so soon after my 6 days in California, and going to England. I don't know. We might lose a signal.
Are you just gonna leave me here, Ben? Because I'll give this whole stream on my own.
All right, fine.
And then you'll come out, and then it's just gonna be like, honestly, I feel I should have been gay all along. Now that I think about it, and that's just gonna be the sentence that you come back on.
Right. Exactly. It wasn't the wizard after all. He was just raging, rampant, flaming homosexual. Don't suck
him and Dumbledore.
Right. Exactly.
Incidentally, in terms of musicals, the Harry Potter musicals are the best thing to come out of the entire Harry Potter franchise. Don't let anybody tell you differently.
I need a new co-host. All right. So let's talk about this Pinkerton's Ghost musical.
So let's look at this as a real project for a minute. Let's just pretend.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll act as if this is actually a thing that will happen.
Okay. All right, I'm ready. I'm puckered for it.
So, number one is, how do we go about the initial creation? Should we do this as a concept album a la Hadestown and New Albion? Or should we actually start writing it out as a script? Number two is, if we were to do it, we would need to get a composer. I am, like you, and like Ken, I am sure, who is not here, I don't think, but I'm sure he would be, I am confident in my ability to do the writing for it. But I am not confident in my ability to write music. I am not a musician. I have taken lessons and can plink the keys on a piano, and that is about the extent of it. So, we would need... No. Not yet, anyway. So, we would need a music guy. Now, there are multiple ways to go about this. We could just create the Pinkertons Go stage play, no music, adapt the story to the stage, and then bring in a music guy and turn it into a musical. This is quite common. Or we could forego the stage play entirely and we could just do the concept album with a composer. Now, since we cannot write music ourselves, discussing what the music that's in it, I think, is a fool's errand. Instead, I believe we should discuss what the plot of the Pinkertons Ghost music be. And I think it should revolve around the underworld journey. I
So,
don't want to get into details of what that is because that's going to be something that fans of the series have to look forward to in the future. But I think it should involve an underworld journey. That
okay.
is what it should adapt. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, considering the amount of hype and spoilers that's going to be around the end of season two, I wouldn't dare presume. However, I don't think I. So here's the thing, I can make it work, and I know exactly what Jack Morrow's character arc would be. But at the same time, I don't know. uh, They wouldn't let me perform screamo on the stage anyway. So what does it matter? Yeah, no, we can
It's
do
our
it.
show, Ben. We can perform whatever we wanted.
Okay, good. Because Jack exclusively listens to heavy metal, but he always looks at you funny whenever you say, "Oh, so you listen to Sabaton?" Huh? There we go.
Really? Because I would think that that's all that Jack listened to.
I don't. Yeah,
Just
sure.
historical based heavy metal and
Eh,
nothing else.
no, it's a meme. At this point, Sabaton is a right wing meme, and I will have nothing to do with it. Uh, no, I'm kidding. It is a meme, but it's not that bad. I
But
mean,
they're actually amazing. So I feel like it would be unfair to avoid them just because they got the bad luck of being a meme. Like they're unironically fantastic.
Anthony,
And I
I'm gonna
say this
tell
as
you a
somebody.
secret. I'm gonna tell you a secret, and I understand if you want to unfriend me and have nothing more to do with me, but
Go ahead.
I do not like Sabaton.
Really? Because
So
I like them even though I don't like that style of music, and I still appreciate them.
so here's the thing. Here's the subtlety to it. I like what they say, and I like what they do. I just don't like their sound. It is
See,
entirely.
here's the thing. Normally, I would think that I didn't like that sound, but as soon as I heard the "When the Wind Stars Arrive," I was pretty much sold.
Yeah, no, it's hype music. It's fantastically hype music. I just don't like the sound as much as I think I should. Like it's too light for me as a heavy metal sort of thing.
So the comments section conversation is getting more amusing by the. Vienna Wolf says you could even give says YouTube did manage to update me about 10 minutes after the stream started, so I listened to the theater debate while gathering Dogecoin with Okami, which is already off to a great start. Then follows with you could even give the Pinkerton some ray guns, pew pew, followed by A.M. Freeman saying, "What?" with three question marks.
Right. It's
Gotta get that correct.
my dread
Makes a
secret,
difference.
the thing I've been hiding from the entire right wing all this time. I'm not the biggest fan of Sabaton.
So here's the fun part of that what. It could be referring to basically any part of this conversation, and it would still make sense. Yeah, gonna do a Pinkerton's Ghost musical. What? I'm not a fan of Sabaton. What?
You're right. Maybe there would be an exclamation point in there. You know, like a what? And then she whips it out, calls a hubby to do a bombing run. It's like take him out, but it's 1,000 miles away. Take him out. He's lying. He's lied to us all this time. Uh, all right. But yeah, no, that's my dread secret. Um, see, here's the thing. Like, I don't think like the way I've set up Jack Morrow. I think he does have like tastes and stuff like that, but it's more subtle than anything else. Like if somebody said, "Oh, Jack Morrow, you're really into arson. You must like give me fuel, give me fire, give me something that I desire." And he'd be like, "No."
I feel like Jack would just stare at you stony faced. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, oh, you must be a big fan of Billy Joel's You Didn't Start the Fire. And he just stares at you and goes like, what? What are the words coming out of your mouth?
It's like, why are you
Like,
talking to me,
why would you say that?
sir? I've come here to kill.
Just Jack goes like, people die in these fires. It's not. They're intended to kill people. Like.
I'm trying to wipe out villainy from the earth. It's a very so one of the best jokes in American Dad was where Steve was not wanting to go to the snooty private school so his dad could schmooze the senator. And he goes, you know what I'll do? I'll be a wolf boy. I'll do all kinds of wolfy things. And, I'll start screaming and howling. I go, who? I got the pipes. And he's like, Steve, don't you dare. And he starts howling. All of a sudden, a werewolf hunter bursts through the window pointing a crossbow. And he's like, where die werewolves? No, I'm not a werewolf. He's just doing this. He's like, what are you doing? I do a very serious job. Thank you, sir, for all you do. We won't be doing this again. And he's like, okay. And he disappears into the night. And it's like it's the most out there like event to happen on that show. But at the same time,
American Dad is a show that has like I always come up with a different percentage, but something roughly it has like one good episode out of every 3.
Yeah, give or take.
Something along those lines. Like, I don't think it's very good overall, but occasionally it has pretty good episodes, and I laugh at them. And also, even occasionally in a bad episode, it will have a joke that just kind of makes me chuckle. Yeah.
I'm just here to... 3 question marks wasn't enough. I'm here to express my surprise that Ben...
Yes? Yes'm?
Oh no, she got muted again.
She came in here all hot.
So you don't hear a crying baby.
I see.
Alright.
She got interrupted from... You were just about to get taken to task, and then she got interrupted by a babe.
Don't get me wrong.
But yeah.
I fully support Sabotage.
I'm just sad, like, that for some reason genetics won't allow you to appreciate, like, enjoy singing your lungs out in the car to them.
It's not like I listened to a ton of Sabaton. It was shown to me like a few weeks ago, and I thought I would hate it, and I'm like, no, actually, they're pretty awesome. But, yeah.
Been introduced me to it, so, like, singing along to it with him probably influenced my feelings about Sabaton.
See that? Sabaton, bringing people together. How wholesome, how wonderful. I absolutely approve of everything Sabaton does. And, like, I did like their World War I music video, because that war was a travesty and a wound on Western civilization that still has not healed.
Boy, do you know how when I the last...
What was that?
The Last Samurai.
Oh yeah?
The title is... That gives me every time I can't...
You're getting cut off, unfortunately. I'm only hearing, like, every other word.
Maybe Discord is not, so maybe I'll just hang out in the chat.
You're doing a little bit better now. I can hear you a little bit more now, so...
Okay, I'll keep...
Take the moment.
The Last Samurai song gives your like, just like, I don't know, pure masculinity and like will not give up the like describing the battle.
I will say that I do like the Last Samurai gig, especially even though I know that they didn't reference the Madman Mishima. Uh, it's pulling me in. Hold on. Who was like the last samurai, took over a police district, and then oh my goodness, please tell me I'm connected. Tell me you guys can hear me. Okay.
Hear you.
Good. Where he basically took over a police district, and after they would not give more power to the emperor, he killed himself and had his like fifth in command execute him because the other ones killed themselves rather than kill him. And this was in like 1970 something. It was a pretty it's a wild story. Absolute madman. A masculine role model like you wouldn't believe. It was fantastic. Killed himself because he was a godless heathen, but you know.
The I just love telling of. I guess I'm not. I'm more in.
I don't know. I think there's internet problems somewhere along the way.
Okay. Alas.
I'll bug you guys some other time then. The chat and yell at Ben from. But it's okay. I don't.
It's fine.
Feel sad.
I think your voice has dropped an octave from what I last remember.
I think I tend to talk lower on. I feel like. I don't know. I feel like I'm talking. Who knows? I can talk really high pitch, or maybe I can get a southern
accent.
Southern.
Actually, so Grigory Horvar's accent is like my pride and joy because I got just the right amount of southerner in there without making it extreme, so it doesn't sound like an actual southerner, but rather a Missourian from like the sticks of Missouri, not like the South, because the Ozarks is a completely different thing than the South. It's not as big as the South, but it is an entirely owned culture, accent, and so on and so forth. And people who think otherwise are completely wrong because it's just not that sort of way.
So, I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking of right now is what we would do if we were actually to do it as a musical. So, if we did it as a concept album, it would be something similar to like New Album or to Hadestown. You know, you would get a different song for each section of the story. It would be something like an opera, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Also, thank you, A.M. Freeman, for showing up. We always appreciate our guests.
Indeed.
So, I obviously, because of my proclivities, I am a man of high standards, so the stage play, we must dress somebody up in a werewolf and then werewolf costume. Not a furry costume, but a werewolf costume, and then kill them on stage. My perfection must be, maintained. We must find an actor who's okay with killing other actors. I'm sure it won't be hard. Alright, I'm actually going to use that this time. I'll be back.
Alright, so I gotta talk about the Pinkerton musical for a moment.
Yep.
Alright, so let's work this over. So let's say we started out as a stage play, first off. We don't do it as a concept album. That way we don't need to pay the composer yet. Because or a songwriter, if you don't want to be as snooty as me. if you don't want to get a songwriter for the team, you start it off as a stage play. And we do a stage play about the Pinkertons going into the underworld. Fiona Wolf says what Hollywood is burning. That would be Mad Max level of actor level. Yes, it would be, and it would be very funny. So the idea going on here is that what would have to happen is something along. Basically, we could do it as a stage play where they need to go down to the underworld and all of that fun stuff. And when they go down to the and you would have to structure it with 3 different plot lines, because I wouldn't want to focus on just one of the Pinkertons. I would want to do it with all 3 Pinkertons. And it would be pretty difficult. The centerpiece of the show, if we were going to be going down to the underworld, is Jack. Hope whoever plays the werewolf will have a good insurance policy. Yes, I agree. So, if we center the story around Jack, who is the person who is going to have the most connection to the underworld. Rick Farwell, something good to read about Ozark culture. Who Blowed Up the Church House and Other Ozark Folk Tales by Vance Randolph.
Ooh.
Actually, I may keep that in mind. Especially Ben might be interested in keeping that in mind, since Ben is the person who deals with the Ozark.
Yep. So there was.
I do. His character tends to hang around. We could do an entirely original thing if we could set it in the Ozark stage play.
I mean,
instead of bring it down to the underworld.
No, I got it. Instead of the underworld, we just go to Chicago.
But where's the what for?
I don't know, to burn it to the ground. It needs another great fire.
Huh.
Also, we need to think about the insurance if we're going to murder people in our play. Fiona Wolf brings up an excellent point about insurance. Eagle Rock, great place. Actually, so like, except for where I live, specifically where I live, and Kansas City, most of the places in Missouri are fantastic.
So I have. But the thing would be in the underworld, I would center it mostly around Jack and have Sean and Jim as the support. If it's not in the underworld, then that changes the game a little bit. Chicago would still probably center around Jack, though, since it's closer to his territory than anybody else.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I don't know if it's exactly his territory, but it's close.
Right. I mean, the problem is that, like, we would probably, if we want to do something specific to them, to everyone, we would probably have to, like, give each of them their own little musical. But no, we'll try to do one. Let me.
I mean, I think everybody should get an arc, but I think you do need to pick somebody to be the main character.
Yeah. You see, I could also.
And if it were, go ahead.
I could also do a decent one mentally, where for Jim, and Sean as well. For Sean, it would be basically Osage Beach. I'm trying to think. I'm sorry. For Sean, it would be Elfish, and we would go into Elfland. For Jim, we could go into Hell. The problem, and like the bureaucratic part of Hell, where the demons punished. I think that'd be actually hilarious. Welcome to hell, where the paperwork never ends. Never ever. Yeah, I'm fine with that. All right, I've got it. We could do. We could
I
do
mean,
unlimited paperwork.
another option that we could do is a 3-act show with 3 miniature stories involving each of our different characters.
Yeah, but how will we tie it together in a satisfying way?
You don't necessarily need to if you're doing an anthology show.
Really? I didn't know that was a thing.
Anthology shows?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes, very, very much so. I'm trying to think of a notable one. You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown is an anthology show. And a pretty decent show. Let's see. You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown is one version. There are definitely others. I can't think of it off the top of my head though. But it's absolutely a format of show. And I did name one, so we know it exists.
Okay. Fiona Wolf says, well,
So,
Chicago is a type of wild area. Absolutely. Sorry, keep going.
yeah, so I'm thinking if we were to do it, probably the smartest way to go about it is to write it as a stage play first. So then you have a structure and then hire a songwriter for it. If you want to do it as a concept album, I mean, it's something you absolutely could, but we would need to really commit to that in advance. We would need to say in advance, we're going to get this done and we're excited about this project, going to work on it, and this is a back burner project. Yeah. It's not something that would be. I will 100%, I will do it. Don't tempt me. I will make this show happen. But. And it will be staged, too. It will be staged. I will find a way. But.
Life will find a way.
But it's a back burner show. It's a back burner idea for sure. There are several things I want to get done first. Outside of priority number 1, which is always the radio show. Priority number 1 is the radio show, and it's not even priority number 2, though. Which, priority number 2, to give all listeners a sneak peek of future Pinkerton projects. Hopefully, over the summer, I am going to be working on a novel starring one of the main characters of the next story in Pinkerton's Ghosts. Not Sean, but his partner, Nick Sobieski, the private detective. There is no hype yet, but you'll see after next week. Hopefully it creates a little bit of interest, not necessarily in Nick as a character, but in a story set in Shipton, starring Blood Money as the villain.
It's going to be pretty sweet. I'm actually really looking forward to it. Just because it's got a lot to it.
I'm really looking forward to seeing people's reactions to the story. I'm going to try and push it when it comes out. Because, hot damn, did I work hard on this thing. This 9,400 word behemoth of a story. It's going to be nearly an hour long special. Yeah, by the way, everybody who waiting for Sean next week, you're going to get a treat because this episode's going to be close to an hour long. So you get a special, triple length episode. So look forward to that. You'll definitely enjoy it. Yeah. Look forward to that. I worked hard on it. I'm very proud of it. I think it came out. It is, I will say, with all due, for whatever it's worth, which is nothing, it is my personal favorite of the stories that I've written for Sean this season. And I think it came out well. Mostly, though, hopefully it will create some hype in you for a novel set in the city of Shipton, where the villain is Blood Money and our hero is a lone private detective with absolutely no supernatural powers. So, it gives you the question. You are going up against an unspeakable, unstoppable evil with powers that are well beyond the ken of normal mortals. And on your side, to fight him, you have nothing but your own wits and guts and the very few resources available to you as a below minimum wage worker in the inner city. How do you win against such a power? And that is what the story will be about. The inspiration is going to be Death Note-esque. This project will take precedence over the stage play / musical. However, I will promise to Ben, once I get this done, if I get it done, but I think I'll be able to.
For your own
Once
sake, get it done. For thou
Hey.
soul.
This isn't for the show. If I don't get it done, nothing's gonna break down.
But your self-worth will grow if you finish it.
That's
You'll
true.
become more of a man. A titan
That's
of the
true.
industry.
I will evolve, and I will my power will grow stronger.
It's just so like he finishes it, hands it to me because I've gone to visit him or something because I'm finally.
I start glowing.
Right, you start glowing. You fall to your knees, dun 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 dun, and then I'm like, down B. Ben, no. I need you as you are, Anthony. I need you producing.
No, Ben. Why?
Betrayal.
I'm sorry, but I can't risk you not getting this episode done. I need you right now. I don't have another writer in the stable.
I got people sending stuff in. It's great. It's
yeah, actually, you do. I am very replaceable. I just
no. No.
But yes, this is the next project. But I will promise you this: once this book is done, I will legitimately make the next project that I do after the book, outside of the main show, the Pinkertons musical. And I will take it seriously. I will work to get it finished.
All right. I look forward to this. I just
but
want
first is the novel.
Yes, absolutely. So some things I will require out of the musical. Depending on what plot line we do, if we go full, like going down to Hades or whatever, I would like a wolf to show up with a solo, singing about the reasons. Obviously. Very good. Very good.
So, look, this is all about... I will legitimately think of it like I will seriously go through the logistics of it and how to get it done, but only after I get the novel done. Novel is going to be priority number 1. So for those who are listening, the novel is going to be standalone. If you want to get technical, it is not a Pinkerton's Ghost novel, even though it takes place in the Pinkerton's Ghost universe, because the main character is not a Pinkerton.
Yeah.
The main character will be someone else. Sean will be preoccupied during the novel. I do not know with what.
Probably going down
Maybe
to
just regular. Yeah, although I assume it's going to take place over more than the course of 3 days, but what do I know? Ooh, everybody listening, you're getting little hints of what's going to happen in future seasons. Can you piece it together, though? I hope not, because I actually don't want to reveal it yet. Don't think too hard about it.
Okay.
Just forget I said anything. But the novel is going to be interesting. So, the novel is going to be the story of Nick, who is a regular detective, and you're going to meet Nick next week in next week's story. Cordell is going to meet him tomorrow, hope. assuming that our good audio editor had time to get to it. It's quite a long story, so who knows, but assuming our good audio editor had time to get to it, Cordell will hopefully be meeting Nick tomorrow. And everybody else is going to be meeting Nick on Friday. He is a detective.
Just saying that if you wanted to, you could meet Nick tomorrow as well. Like, you can meet it at the same time as
It only costs $5.
It does, and it will keep us warm. And my poor audio editor from boiling his shoes to eat them. Yes, that is a real problem, and Cordell will tell you that we treat our subscribers like kings and queens. You know, we're not picky. You know, just letting you know. Anyway, now that's out, that's out there.
Now that that's out there, yes. So the novel is going to star Nick, because Sean will be preoccupied with something. I don't know yet. I'll come up with a good answer. And it's going to center around Nick has vowed to take out the villainous vampire who is running the criminal underground in Shipton, Blood Money. He has gotten he has been hired by another character. I will refrain from saying the name because it will be a spoiler if I do for when you hear the story. But Nick will be hired by another character, and he will become and he will get into the sights of Blood Money. And Blood Money's resources are that he has the power to mind control people and to turn them into vampiric slaves with special powers. He is growing more powerful by the second, and he has a growing underground empire. He controls politicians, and he controls businesses and business owners. And Nick, for his part, well, Nick is a private detective. He has no special powers. He is not a Pinkerton. He doesn't own any artifacts. He doesn't have the organization at his disposal. And he is not at all magical. And it is up to him. He is to take down Blood Money. Who will win the cat and mouse game? The idea is exciting. If you're wondering what type of story that you're going to get, the major inspiration here is Death Note. Think of it as that sort of cat and mouse interplay. You know, the call and response style of storytelling. Blood Money makes a move, Nick needs to respond. Nick makes a move, Blood Money has to respond, until we eventually come together in a climax. So, if you are a fan of Death Note, then you will hopefully be a fan of this novel. And that will be coming, with luck and with some skill and with me doing a lot of work, in the fall. And that is all I have. Ben, anything you have to add?
I absolutely cannot wait for your next episode. Our season finale is grinding into high gear. I'm going to do some things for an authorized TV tomorrow, as well as get myself some work and other things like that. Overall, we do appreciate all our fans, and for the people who have been listening to us thus far. I don't have a plan for next week, but we will be here to argue about something else or just talk about it gently with powdered wigs and arsenic face paler, whatever that's called. I don't know. Rouge?
Vienna Wolf says, so you're saying the Pinkerton's ghost version of L might have some moves, huh? Should be fun. I would say that Nick is a very, very different character than L. However, he functions the same role in the story.
He also has a sniper
rifle.
So,
yes.
Maybe.
And he has a sniper rifle, yes.
All the best ways.
Nick kills people. L doesn't kill people.
L doesn't
Nick
kill
kills.
People. Nick kills people. All right, guys. Have a good one. Good night. Good night.